Hi folks, welcome back to the Horde. So it's about 5:15. Today is Tuesday, the 10th of February. Saturday is Valentine's Day, so those of you who don't want trouble with your wife and or girlfriend, make sure you get them stuff or you'll have trouble. Let's see, what am I up to? One of the important things when you're going to do this whole engine swap gig is seeing what your gear ratio is, right? The last thing you want to do is smash this into a frame, build a cage, get it all mounted up, get it all done, and be out there and slam it into first gear and tromp down on the gas pedal, and second gear, and third gear, and fourth gear, and fifth gear, and realize that you're only doing 3 miles per hour. Right? That really, really sucks. So, with that, I spent a little time looking at the internet, and I found out a few things about this thing. This engine is good for close to 9,000 RPM, which really surprised me. The rev limiter is at 8,750 RPM. I didn't realize these things wound quite that tight. That's like 2-cycle land to me. I didn't think these engines wound up much over $5,000, 5,500. I know the 200S is good for around 45 to 5,500 RPM. I didn't realize these things wound out so tight. That's way up there. That's one thing. The other thing is, from a spec point of view, these things are good for somewhere around 3,500 RPM or 35 miles per hour with 22-inch tires on them. Typically, you have a 12-tooth sprocket here and a in the back. Typically 48 in the back. So what is that? About 3.5. So anyway, I went through a bunch of calculations, and for whatever reason, I seem to be off by a magnitude of 10. Particularly, I spent a lot of time turning this. I put it in fifth gear and put a little piece of tape on it so I can see how many times I got to turn this to get that to go around. When I turn this, it appears to be about 11.5 times I got to turn this to get this to go around once. And as I'm playing with all this math here, I'm really not liking what I'm coming up with for gear ratios, and I must be doing something wrong, and I'm going to spend a little more time on it with my days off to see what I'm doing wrong. But let me just show you. So the Honda 200X motor, fifth gear, I have 11.5 motor RPMs to 1 shaft RPM. And the EZGO rear end, 12 shaft RPMs to 1 tire turn. So I had the engine at 4,000 RPM. It's almost twice that. Fifth gear, sprocket. So anyway. So in fifth gear, the sprocket RPM is that 4,000 divided by 11.5. So I'm looking at about 348 RPM. So 348 RPM into the EZGO, so you got to divide that by 12. So I basically got the tires turning 30 times per minute. And if I have a tire circumference of 5.5 feet, so 5.5 times 29 RPM times, I want to get this up in miles per hour, not RPMs per minute, so I multiply it by 60, right? There are 60 minutes in an hour, so that gives me revolutions per hour, RPH. So, and if you do all that, you end up with about 9,570 feet, and when you divide that by 5,280 feet per mile, I get 1.8 miles per hour. So I did that, and I scratched my head and I said, Wow, I didn't think it'd go quite that slow. Then I did a bunch more math, and I started up here, and I actually used, 8,000 RPM and a bunch of other things. And for whatever reason, I can't get to 35 miles per hour. I'm getting to I'm off by like a factor of 10, right? I'm able to more or less, I'm able to double that, because instead of 4,000, I'm up at 8,000. So you double that, that's 3.6. And instead of dividing by 12 here, I'm only dividing by 3.5. So 3.6 times 3 again, right? So I'm off by like a factor of 2. And it's driving me a little crazy. I'm gonna have to spend some time playing with these numbers to figure out what I'm doing wrong. Basically, the card I'm putting together here, instead of just dividing by 12, right? Because of the chain and sprocket, if I 1-to-1 it, I'm going to be dividing by 3.5. So instead of doing 35 miles per hour, if in 5th gear I'm doing, 10 miles per hour, I'm not madly in love with that, but, I could, perhaps, put a little bigger sprocket on the motor, a little smaller sprocket on the input to the shaft, and get that up to 15 miles per hour, which isn't horrible, right? Be kind of fun to play with up there. But right now, once again, because I went back and compared the gear ratios that I supposedly have to do 35 miles per hour, and I'm not getting 35 miles per hour, it tells me I'm doing something wrong from a math point of view. So I got to figure that out. And I guess my next step is, right, I got the motor, I got the parts, I got the gear ratio. I also have to do a little research what they say the final gear ratio is. I know I'm turning this thing 11.5 times to get this to turn once. So, and I checked several times to make sure I was in 5th gear. Right? Because shifting is up, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So, and you tap it all the way down, and it does go into neutral. So now it's to the point where I got to put this in the cart, right, and see how I'm going to cradle it and see how everything's going to fit and so forth. And I got to start looking at angles. Does this angle come up and go to the where the input shaft is to the rear end without any real trouble, or am I gonna, I think it will. I'm not going to have any suspension, so I don't think I'll have too much trouble there. Then I got to figure out how to build the cradle such that the exhaust system doesn't have a problem and the carburetor doesn't have a problem, and I'm able to get the exhaust out from underneath so this engine doesn't get too hot. Though it wouldn't take much, quite honestly, to put a little fan, open up one of the sides under the seat, or you sit down on the seat, right? Then you got that side or that side of the cart. I mean, I could put an automotive fan to blow through there, whatever, to keep things cool. This does have a 12-volt system, so that wouldn't be that hard a deal. But anyway, that's where this is going. My buddy William Staton gave me a part number for a proper plug that plugs into this. Probably what I'm going to do is I'm going to declare this mess experimental and then order a couple of these from China I would like to get another one with a coil, because I got a golf cart, a 2-cylinder Robin project coming up with, that I want to see if I could get 2 of these to spark at the same time, and if the answer is yes, then I could get rid of the club car / EZGO ignition systems and hack my own on there and have a lot less trouble, right? So that's another project that's floating around in my head. So I do actually want to get the proper connectors, because things always work better with proper connectors, right? So that's cooking. The 200X, or the Auto X, the 200X with the 200S motor, that's kind of gotten to a mechanical state. It's just a matter of digging up the sprocket gear, slamming it on there, taking the chain, whether I resurrect that one with the master link or the one I bought, and put it on there, you know, shifter lever. I got the pegs. It's kind of a mechanical exercise now. Unfortunately, I'm one of those people who kind of start getting bored after it's gone from possible to, oh, just put it together and ride it. You know, I will, but you know, that's at a point where I tend to slow down because I start getting bored with the project, right? Alright, anyway, making video after video here. Hopefully you guys have stayed with me. Thanks for watching and commenting and subscribing. Remember to keep your feet down, keep your head up, and enjoy your days. Remember to have fun. Go out there and have a good time. Go jump on a snowbank, perhaps. Alright, bye now, folks.